Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we are teaching you how to play Maps of Mystera. Now this is a 1 to 4 player game that should take roughly 45 minutes and is for ages 10 plus according to the box. And the Board Game Geek community recommends this for 1 to 4 players, but does say that it's best at 2 players and suggests that ages 8 and up might like the game. To begin the setup, first place the island board in the middle of the table. On the board, you'll see these symbols in these 3 different spaces. This indicates if a jungle tile will go in that space based on the number of players in a game. So in a 2, 3, or 4 player game, you place a jungle tile here. In a 2 or 3 player game, you place it here. And in a 2 player game, you place one here. These should be on the confirmed side, not the hazy side. Place the stacks of terrain tiles hazy side up in their appropriate spaces on the side of the board. Shuffle the presumption cards, deal 4 to each player, return the rest to the box. Each player then looks at their 4 cards, chooses 2 to keep, and returns the other 2 to the box. The 2 cards that a player keeps will be kept face down in their play area and should not be shown to the other players. However, the player that owns them can peek at them at any time. If this is your first time playing, it's recommended to find the presumption cards with letters in the top left corner and give each player a pair with the same letter. Sort out the sketch cards so that you only have those with a number equal to or lower than the current player count. Any of those with a player count higher than your current players will be returned to the box. Once you have that sorted, shuffle the sketch cards you'll be using. Then reveal 5 for the display. Each player then collects their player components. They'll take a parchment board. This would be the player's color in this case, so blue. The parchment board also must be oriented the same way as the island. And since we had our island with the hazy tiles over here, this should be oriented like this. The player will need their character card, their cartographer meeple, and 3 claim markers that go in this space here. Finally, give the first player marker to a random player. A game of Maps of Mystera will last a variable number of rounds. During each round, a player will take their turn, and then the next player in clockwise order will take their turn. A player's turn is divided into 2 half days of expedition. Each of these is divided into 3 phases. Move, which is optional, choose a sketch card, which is mandatory, and then map or claim, which is optional. The only time that move is mandatory will be on your first turn, when you must select one of these beach spaces to place your meeple in. After that, move is always optional. Several cartographer meeples can be in the same space at the same time. You can only move your cartographer orthogonally, meaning left, right, up, or down. You cannot move them diagonally like this. You also, though, cannot move them into an empty space. They either can only be moved onto a beach space or a space occupied by a terrain tile. For gameplay purposes, beach tiles are considered empty at all times, but again, they are the one empty type of space that a cartographer meeple may move into. Every type of terrain depicted on the terrain tiles, whether it's confirmed or hazy, has an effect on the cartographers. The beach has no effect. The steps effect occurs when moving. When you move your cartographer meeple into the step, you may immediately move it to an adjacent space. You would then be allowed to trigger the effect of the new space as well. This means that if you had several steps connected, you could go here, 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 and then here. Not saying there's any reason you'd want to go in a circle like that, but it's possible. After moving, you then must choose a card from the sketch display. Once you've chosen it, do not replace it quite yet. This, however, is where the lagoon effect comes into play. If your cartographer was on a lagoon, when you went to choose a sketch card, you could decide to discard one of them by placing it underneath the deck, drawing a new one to replace it, and then select your sketch card. But let's say this is the one that we selected. Step 3 of your half day is map or claim. The player will take their selected sketch card and they must place it onto their parchment board. At least half of this card must be placed on a space your cartographer meeple can see according to its current position. A meeple can see any orthogonal space adjacent to it. So in this case, they can see here, 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 and here. They also can see the space they're currently standing on, of course. So at any given time, a cartographer meeple can see 5 spaces. Spaces standing on, and each one orthogonally adjacent to it. So in this case, the meeple is standing here, so this could be played here, because this space can be seen. It could be played like this. It could be played down here. It could even be played here. The arrangement of terrain types depicted on the parchment board is allowed to differ from what's actually on the island board. This is also a good time to point out the mountain terrain effect, which triggers when placing a sketch card. So if the meeple were there, then the mountain would allow your cartographer meeple to see 1 space further orthogonally, and therefore the sketch card could be placed 1 space further away. So now they have really opened up what they're able to see, and this card could be placed here or here. Just keep in mind, they are still only seeing orthogonally. They are not seeing diagonally. For now, though, we'll leave this sketch card here. Now, as we've mentioned, but let's just reiterate, every space of the island has 3 possible states. Empty, as this space currently is, hazy, like this, or confirmed, like this. After you have placed a sketch card, as we did here, you then must update the corresponding 2 spaces of the island board, performing the following steps for each of those 2 spaces. If the space is empty, place a terrain tile matching the sketch card, hazy side up. So we place a water tile there and a mountain tile here. Both of them would be hazy. However, if the island space already contains a terrain tile hazy side up, let's say this is how it was starting during our turn, then the matching tiles to the sketch card we placed on our parchment board will be confirmed and will be flipped to the confirmed side. However, let's say that when we conducted our turn, it looked like this. We then conduct our turn, we place this sketch card here. The water tile matches, and so it is flipped up like this. However, the step does not match. This is a mountain, and so the step card is removed and replaced with a hazy mountain tile. Now, what if we had placed this here, which matches the 2 spaces that he's on? Nothing would happen because both of these tiles are already confirmed. If instead it had been placed like this in this particular situation, then a hazy mountain tile would have been placed right here. In the rare instance that one of these terrain types is empty and a sketch card is placed for that terrain type, nothing happens. So that's how you handle a map action in step 3, but what if instead you want to do the claim action? A cartographer meeple can perform the claim action in their region. A region is 2 or more orthogonally adjacent contiguous group of terrain tiles of the same type where at least one of them is confirmed. So these 2 mountains would be a region. If this were not here, then these 2 would not be a region since they are not contiguous and not adjacent. However, now this would be a region. To claim, you perform the following steps. First, you take the sketch card that you chose in the second phase and discard it back to the box. It's now completely out of the game. Next, place one of your remaining claim markers in the space that your cartographer is currently in. This must respect the following rules. Your cartographer meeple must be on a terrain tile that is confirmed. You cannot claim two regions of the same type. So, for instance, the next region that this cartographer claimed could not be a jungle. You cannot claim a region that has already been claimed by someone else. So, in this case, blue could not claim the jungle because purple already has. Each player has 3 claim tokens, and this means they can only claim 3 total regions. And once a claim marker is on the board, it cannot be moved. It is possible that once you have claimed a region, to explore in such a way that you begin expanding your region so that it's worth more points at the end of the game. It's even possible that changes made to the board could unify 2 regions that were claimed by different players. This will be resolved in the final scoring at the end of the game. None of the players with claims on that disputed region score points for the large unified region. So keep that in mind when you're exploring. If you choose to neither map nor claim during Phase 3 of this half day, you will discard the sketch card you chose to the box. It's out of the game. After you play your first half day, you then play your second half day. After you've played 2 half days on your turn, it is now the next player's turn. After your second half day, there will now only be 3 sketch cards left in the display. At the end of your turn, you will reveal 2 more to bring the display back up to 5. At this point, the next player takes their turn, conducting 2 half days of expedition. In the rare case that the deck of sketch cards runs out, continue playing with only the sketch cards in the display. The end of the game is triggered in one of 3 ways. If the board is completely full of confirmed tiles, if there are no more sketch cards, that means the deck is gone and the display is gone, or you have covered all the spaces on your parchment board. Once one of these in-game conditions has been met, you finish the current round so that everyone has the same number of turns, and then tally up your score. Before you tally up your prestige points, remove the following from the island board, though. All terrain tiles that are hazy are removed. Any claim marker that shares the same region as another claim marker is also removed. Now you'll tally up your prestige points on the score sheet. This row looks at your parchment board's fidelity to the island board, meaning that you'll gain +2 prestige for each parchment space containing the same type of terrain as the island board. Empty spaces don't count for these purposes. This row looks at the completeness of your parchment board. You gain -1 point for each empty parchment space. These 2 rows take a look at your presumption cards. These will earn you points based on your parchment board, regardless of its fidelity to the island board. And then finally, this area here indicates the regions you have claimed, and you will gain 2 prestige points per tile in each region you have claimed. The player with the highest score wins, and if it's a tie, the tied player who scored more prestige for fidelity will win. If there's still a tie, the tied players share the victory. And that's everything you need to know to play Maps of Mystera. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to come back and check out all the great content we have coming up, including how to play the Kingdom Death Monster expansion, the Gambler's Chest expansion, Part 4. We also have Part 4 of our Dungeon Universalis series coming up soon, and lots of other great content as well. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.